The question hit him like a quiet earthquake, the kind that doesn't shake the ground but rearranges everything inside your chest. It came on an ordinary evening, under ordinary lights, with the hum of America moving on around them, and yet it cracked open a truth he had spent years carefully hiding from himself. In that moment, time seemed to slow, memories rushed forward like a flood, and he realized how a single person can unknowingly become the center of someone else's entire emotional universe. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of love that grows in silence, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Nathan Walker had lived his whole life in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where seasons felt personal and people remembered who you used to be. He worked at a local distribution warehouse, drove the same pickup he'd owned since college, and spent most evenings helping his mother or volunteering at a neighborhood food bank. People often described him as steady, dependable, and kind, which were all true, but none of those words captured the quiet loneliness that followed him home at night. Friends assumed he was picky, broken, or simply uninterested in relationships. The truth was far simpler and far more painful. He had been in love with the same woman for years, and she had no idea. Her name was Grace Miller, a name that suited her in ways that felt almost unfair. She had moved to town after a messy divorce, carrying 2 suitcases, a tired smile, and a heart still bruised by disappointment. Nathan met her at the food bank on her first day as a volunteer, where she struggled with heavy boxes and apologized too much for needing help. From the beginning, something about her presence softened the sharp edges of his life. She didn't try to impress anyone. She laughed quietly, listened deeply, and treated everyone like they mattered. Over time, their friendship grew naturally, built on shared routines, coffee after volunteering, and long walks through streets glowing with porch lights. Nathan never planned to fall in love. It just happened in the way real things do, slowly and without permission. He noticed how Grace always gave the last sandwich to someone else, how she paused before speaking as if choosing kindness on purpose, how her eyes carried both sadness and hope at the same time. He told himself it was admiration, then respect, then something harmless. But every time she mentioned dating again or joked about being single, something inside him tightened. He stayed silent because he was afraid of being another disappointment in her life, afraid that if he reached for more, he would lose even the friendship that meant everything to him. Grace, on the other hand, saw Nathan as safe. He was the person who showed up when her car broke down, who remembered her favorite bakery, who never pushed or expected anything from her. In a world that had taken too much from her, his steadiness felt like a gift. She trusted him without realizing that his heart was quietly breaking every time she leaned on him for emotional support while looking past the possibility of him being anything more. She assumed his single life was a choice, a preference, something intentional. The question came one evening in late autumn, when the air smelled like rain and fallen leaves covered the sidewalks. They were sitting together after a long volunteer shift, exhaustion settling in. Grace mentioned how strange dating felt at her age, how people carried invisible scars into every conversation. Then, almost casually, she wondered why Nathan never seemed interested in anyone. The words weren't meant to wound, but they did. For him, they echoed with every moment he had chosen silence over honesty. He felt the weight of years pressing down on his chest, and for the first time, he realized that protecting his heart had also kept him trapped. That night changed something. Nathan went home and stared at his reflection, seeing not just the dependable man others saw, but the one who had been hiding. He understood that love, when left unspoken, doesn't stay safe forever. It turns into regret. He began to notice how tired he was of being brave for everyone else and invisible to the one person who mattered most. Over the next few weeks, he wrestled with fear, replaying every possible outcome, imagining rejection, imagining losing Grace entirely. But beneath the fear was a growing sense of clarity. Loving her from a distance was no longer enough. Grace, meanwhile, began to sense a shift. Nathan grew quieter, more introspective, as if preparing for something she couldn't see. She caught herself missing his easy laughter and wondering why his absence felt heavier than she expected. It unsettled her, forcing her to confront feelings she had never examined. She realized how often she compared other men to him, how no one else felt as natural, as grounding. The idea unsettled her because it meant risking her heart again, something she had sworn she wouldn't do. When the truth finally surfaced, it wasn't dramatic or loud. It was honest, fragile, and overdue. Nathan let himself be seen, not as the unshakable friend, but as a man who had loved quietly and deeply for years. Grace listened, truly listened, and in that space, something shifted. She saw him differently, not because he changed, but because she finally understood what had been there all along. Love didn't arrive suddenly. It revealed itself, like light breaking through clouds. Their relationship didn't erase the past or magically fix everything. They moved slowly, with caution and care, learning how to choose each other without fear. There were awkward moments, old habits to unlearn, and doubts that surfaced in quiet hours. But there was also peace, the kind that comes from honesty. Nathan no longer felt invisible. Grace no longer felt alone. Together, they discovered that the strongest love stories aren't built on grand gestures, but on patience, kindness, and the courage to finally speak. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you've been afraid to love or a truth you've been holding back, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who need them most. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment below and tell us about a time you loved someone in silence or waited too long to speak your truth. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. In the end, Nathan understood that the question he once feared had been a gift. It forced him to confront his own silence and step into a life he had only imagined from afar. Grace learned that sometimes the love we search for is already beside us, waiting patiently. Their story became a reminder that kindness, when paired with courage, can change everything. And sometimes, the reason we are alone isn't because love hasn't found us, but because we haven't yet believed we are worthy of being seen.